So how was your day?
Lovely.
Yeah, what stood out for you?
My phone rang and the direction in which I was traveling changed.
Is it?
Yes.
So it was like you didn't expect that.
Absolutely not.
Can you imagine?
Yes.
That's what it means to be human.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Divine connections over here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We were
Those,
just
those are blessings. When the phone rings, it's a blessing.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And when they don't ring,
It means...
Something's all right.
yes.
I feel like it means you have peace. Because these days it's like you can expect anything from a me. Kwanzaa, when I check a phone call, I'm like, oh, not again. This better be good. It never used to be like that back in the day.
Yes.
Yeah. Welcome, though.
Thank you.
So for those who do not know you, maybe you can give us a brief background of yourself and what you do and what inspires you to do what you do.
Wow. That's a huge question.
Right. We have time.
Yes, I'm Tony Olang. I'm an author. And I'm currently writing my 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th books.
Wow.
I actually do them in parallel. It depends on the inspiration that comes out. And this evening, I believe you wanted us to talk a little bit about the book I just released in December, which is titled Eeny, Meeny, Money and More.
I like that. Yeah.
How to save and invest 70% of your income.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's really what it is right now. I'm trying to give back to society.
Yeah.
Right.
There are lots of things that you learn on your journey in life, and you get to a point where you realize, I need to give this back. I need to share this with other people. And my writing journey was actually an accident, an absolute accident.
Okay, do share.
Yes, it started with this first book here, From the Cradle to the Cradle.
Yeah.
And how this happened was a debate about African culture,
Yeah.
more specifically Luo culture.
Right.
And I interviewed my grandmother for at least 2 years.
Yeah.
Every second or third Saturday, I was sitting with her with a notebook, pen in hand, and I put a voice recorder. I actually have the recordings of her voice, which I haven't even gone back to listen to. But when I organized all the scribbles that I had put together, From the Cradle to the Cradle was born.
Wow.
And when we were launching this book, just after we had said, yes, the book is launched, we've done all the confetti and the fanfare and everything,
Yeah.
the guys who attended the event asked me, so when is your next book coming out?
Yeah.
And it took me almost 3 years to produce this thing. So I said, guys, why don't you let me take a break from writing? They said, no, you
Yeah.
need to write your next book.
Exactly.
So I said, okay, guys, which chapter in From the Cradle to the Cradle should I make my next book? And they said the chapter on marriage.
Not without my water pot.
So Not Without My Water Pot was born.
I like that.
This was
Okay.
my second book. So
Yeah.
it delves into the details of what happens when somebody is following the cultural process for getting married. And the first book was the whole life journey. That's why it's called From the Cradle Back to the Cradle.
Yeah.
Now, this one is specifically on marriage. Then, as this came out, I was told your writing is too tertiary. So I said, okay, maybe I should do something for kids. So I wrote 2 little children's books, The Traveler and A Day at the Market. These are based on real life events. A Day at the Market is based on my grandmother and her children, and my dad is also part of the story. He's one of, the key characters in the story.
Yeah.
And The Traveler is based on the experiences of my maternal grandfather.
That's interesting.
Yes.
He who was a traveler?
Well, he was a soldier.
Oh, wow.
He was
okay.
conscripted,
Yeah.
and he went all the way to Burma and came back. So this is a little snippet of, what it is. And then I was told that my writing is too much in the corner of the lakeside stories. So I challenged myself to start doing multicultural writing. So we ended up with my little big animal coloring book
Yeah.
with the names of the animals in 10+1 African languages. Yes, so you can teach your little ones how to color, teach them the names of the animals, not only in English,
Yeah.
but in 10 plus 1 local languages.
Kenyan languages.
Kenyan languages, yes.
Yeah.
So
That's
this
amazing.
is where the multicultural discussion came in. And then after that, guys told me, we don't know you for this. Can you write?
Now you've gone way off.
yes, we don't know you for this.
We want the real Tony.
Yes,
Yeah.
can you write something that we can relate you with?
Yeah.
So I said, okay, my experiences have been in financial services. I've worked in the pension sector. I've worked in actuarial services. I've worked in insurance. And so I said, well, this is going to be a culmination of what people know me for. And Eeny, Meeny, Money and More was born. The title of the book has been inspired by a nursery rhyme.
Exactly.
I get that question a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So with the multicultural angle to this, what we are currently completing right now is 100 African folk stories. And these are written in 10 languages, 10 local languages. And each of the stories is translated into English.
Good stuff.
Wow.
So you don't have to understand the local languages to be able to understand, enjoy and understand the stories.
Yeah.
What are the basis of those stories?
This is the hare and the hyena and the elephant and the lion.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
The
Okay.
real traditional stories.
Yeah.
Yes. So there's lots of teachings. It's amazing because I write, most of my writing is done early in the morning.
Yeah.
And, within all that silence, I can actually create images of the lion, the hyena, the hare, the frog, the tortoise, the elephant, all the animals that are creating depictions. And in the traditional setting, all these animals were representations of people or personalities or characteristics that exist in our ecosystem.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good stuff. That's a good intro. Let me ask you something, Steph. I know you want to jump into the money conversation real quick.
Actually, before I get there.
Oh, you too. Me too.
Yeah.
Tony, let me ask you.
Yes.
Most of your stories, of your books, or a number of your books are based on the experiences of your family members.
Yes.
Your grandmother, your maternal grandfather,
Yes.
yourself, of course, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And it's interesting. I was having a conversation with my aunt, who's from Gem, Akala, and she told me, Kevin, make sure before we all leave, make sure before we leave this earth,
Yes.
you've documented our experiences, and you've put them somewhere safe for the
Yeah.
sake of our future generations, so that you can have continuity when it comes to our beliefs. I can see that one is an amazing one. From the cradle to the cradle, a journey of African culture, story of the Luo nation. Why was it important for you to document all these stories off of the experiences of your family members?
We needed a reference point. The easiest reference point to have is yourself. And what I did was I started by looking at the family tree. And I realized the family tree was too complex. So I just followed the genealogy. Believe it or not, I got all the way up to Olo.
Wow.
Olo is Adam
Oh, okay.
in French, yes.
Damn.
So I followed the genealogy for 39 generations.
Jeez.
And I got all the way to Olo.
Wow.
How did you get there?
My uncle is a historian, so he helped me quite a bit with that one. And then just joining dots here and there, asking a question here, asking a question there. So once you learn how to ask the right questions, then the answers present themselves. Because everything is in plain sight. You just need to ask the right question.
So that is your family tree, in other words.
I have used my family as a reference point, and my
Yeah.
grandmother was the pivot behind production of this. Of course, I did a lot of research. Yes, I did a lot of reading. The other thing about writing is you have to enjoy reading. Absolutely have to enjoy reading because of citation.
What's the feedback? From your friends, from Kenyans out there, from...
It's very interesting
Yeah.
that even when I present Eeny, Meeny, Money and More today, most people still want to look for this book.
Cradle to the Cradle.
Yes.
I can. You know, I have to read that book. I just have to. Yeah, because wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So probably I'll just hand this over to you so that you.
Thank you so much, Bonatoni. Thank you so much, guys. As you can see, the great Tony Olang has just handed me his book. This is the beginning of a very important journey, especially because of my past. Yeah? Hiya, Steph, I know you had a question.
That's actually quite impressive because, like, the most I can go back is my grandfather. That's it. Like, it ends there. We don't know where else we came from. But before we get into this, when you're writing all these stories, are there moments where you get into writer's block, and how do you get out of that?
That's the beauty of having more than one manuscript running at the same time.
Okay, yeah.
So whatever sentence, my objective is to write one sentence a day. So if I write one sentence for 365 days, assuming I get a perfect 365, then at the end of the year I have 365 sentences I can review. If I feel that there is not enough content for me to be able to start doing a self-review, then I continue writing. But when you're starting, you have the skeleton of what you want to write in place. So naturally, your table of contents is where you begin. And when a sentence pops up in your mind, because I think best in my sleep, when I wake up, it's fresh. So I quickly open my writing laptop and I put down the sentence. And you will tend to write 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 sentences. Sometimes, I can just go on writing and writing, and it gets even more exciting. And the alarm is what has to get you jumping into the shower, putting on your suit and tie and running out of the house. Yes.
So what would you tell the new writer who's written, they have a draft ready, but they're nervous about actually getting it out there because they don't know what the feedback is like, and they're holding themselves back? What would you tell them?
They need to read their writing. Because what I do is, once I've gotten to a point where I'm convinced that there's a story, it may be incomplete, but there's a story.
Yes.
So I make hard copies, I print it out. And then as you're reading, you can almost hear the blank spaces that are missing. So now you scribble. I scribble it out now in longhand. So I'll end up with, a stack of papers, partly printed, partly scribbled. Then I take that and I now start typing it in. Because the thoughts tend to flow easier for me when I'm actually using a pen.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's get down into the business of this amazing book that has such a good cover page. Any, Mini, Money and More. How to save and invest 70% of your income. Why is it so important for Kenyans, human beings, to learn how to save and invest 70% of their income? What's your biggest insight of this book?
Allow me to begin by saying there are 5 broad things you can do with money. Number 1, you can buy things.
True.
Number 2, you can pay for experiences.
Correct.
Number 3, you can pay for services. Yes, or for labor. Number 5, you can give it away or donate it. Sorry, number 4, you can give it away or donate it. And number 5, you can save and invest it.
Okay.
Are we together?
Yes.
So if we skip number 1, 2, 3, 4 and delve into number 5, there is something called delayed gratification, which then enables you to see what the likely outcome is, not today, not tomorrow, not end of the month, end of the year maybe, onwards. And if you start thinking in the long term, say 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from today, what comes to mind? Where are you going to be?
Yeah.
Where are you going to be living?
My health.
your health, yes.
Children.
Exactly. So that's exactly what's in chapter 1 of this book. What do I want?
Yeah.
It's titled, What Do I Want? So what we are saying in this book is you need to write a list of the 500 things that you are looking forward to so that you can say you have lived a fulfilled life. So once you write those things, there is likely to be a financial implication beside each item you've written.
Yeah.
So you start to prioritize them. You say, these ones I can do in 1 month, these ones I can do in 1 year. And then you space them out and you say, these are the things I can do within my lifetime.
Right.
Yeah.
And you start working towards allocating some money to deliver on them. And like we began by saying, there are 5 things you can do with your money. You will see those items sprinkling into these 5 categories we talked about.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So the important reason why we are saving and investing is we have said there's something down there in the future, and we are working towards the possibility that our money is going to be able to support us. And the earlier you start doing this in your life, the better for you, because you'll be enjoying the benefit of compounding.
Yeah, I like that.
That whatever seeds or whatever product is coming out of your investment is then growing on top of what had already grown before.
Yeah.
So whatever had the multiplication that came out at the initial stage is growing more and more and more. I'll give you an example which we've presented in there. If you're 30 years old today and you're saving 10,000 shillings per month diligently, and that money is going into a fund that's generating 10% return per year, after 30 years, or when you're aged 60, you'll have 22 million shillings in that account. Meanwhile, the capital you put in was only 3.6 million shillings.
Wow.
Between the 3.6 and the 22, everything in between there is compound interest. So you're enabling your money to grow and grow some more on top of that growth.
Yeah, that's interesting because I remember one of the lessons one of my family members used to tell me is fortune favors the young, right? So if you start saving early, just like you said, when you're at a certain age, your money will have compounded really well.
Yeah.
So now, because I know apparently Kenyans, I even had the president talking about how Kenyans, us guys don't have a saving culture, which I think is partly true. So for guys who are in their 50s, say for example, is it too late for them to start saving, or should they get it some?
Should they just spend it all at this point?
Should they get it? Is there any other viable investment plan that they can have other than just saving?
It's never too late. It's never too late. Chapter 9 in this book talks about making money while you sleep. So a lot of guys ask me, so how do I save and invest 70% of my income? So there are 3 things you can do. Of course, after you've budgeted, you've done your list of 500, you've organized these things, there are 3 things you can do. 1, you can consider expansion. You can expand your income. 2, which most people focus on, you can contract your expenses. And 3, you could do a combination of 1 and 2. So you can do a combination of expanding your income and contracting your expenses. So what we are saying here is 30% of your income should essentially be able enough for you to be able to survive. Yes. I don't know if that works for you.
I think it should. You're speaking to me right now. I'm just like, I have to make sense of my finances. What are some of the common mistakes that you've seen millennials and Gen Zs make when it comes to their finances and investment plans?
Well, it's the absence of patience.
Okay.
This is a long game. Yes, you need to be looking 10, 20 years down the line. And ultimately, when you get down to it, you'll be looking at growing a portfolio or diversifying your investments.
Yeah.
So imagine you have a pie and it's been divided into 4 parts. In one part, you've got immovable property or real estate. In the other part, you have some stocks. In the other part, you have a money market fund. And in the other part, you have some government bills and bonds. So how these balance in your portfolio then enables you to start looking at the possibility of making what we call passive income. And this passive income then grows over time, and you might just be surprised that it could get bigger than your active income.
Right.
And when you get into retirement, this is what is going to drive you. Yes, unfortunately, when you get into retirement, your medical expenses are up. You might not be as strong as you are to do what you are doing right now. You will need to pay for services.
Yeah.
You'll need a gardener. You might need someone to help you with your day-to-day stuff. And you'll end up then saying, wow, you mean this money that I saved is actually working for me now?
Yeah.
And the other thing that is important for people to be able to see is, yes, I'm going to save this money, and then when I get to 60, what happens? So it's very interesting that the numbers soon just become a game. You see money going in, and you see money going out.
Yeah.
So whatever gains you make, you plow them back into a new reinvestment, and you allow it to grow some more.
Yeah. So there's someone who's listening in and they're saying, okay, this sounds really good, but I'm still at the stage of when I get my money, I don't know what happens to it. So how important is budgeting? Because I know you've talked about it, like where has my money gone and personal budgeting. So how important is that for a person even before they touch their money?
Wow. Okay, let's take 2 steps back. I think we ran a little too fast. So you need to be able to plan yourself. So look at your income for 2025. We're in a very good spot right now. People have just done resolutions. Hopefully you haven't touched your January salary. I'm just assuming. Yes?
Yeah. We haven't touched it too much.
Yeah, we have 12 months of salary.
Yeah.
So look at 2025 and ask yourself, what is my income potential for 2025? You'll have a number. This number is divided by 12 because assumedly you're making your money on a month-on-month basis. But in order for you to take that money and look at it holistically, you then say, this is how I'm going to divide my expenses. So one common budgeting approach is 50-30-20, where 50% is for your needs, 30% for your wants, and 20% for your savings and investment. So if you start with that, you then say, okay, can I classify what is a need? Can I classify what is a want?
Yeah.
And then the 20% becomes saving and investment.
Yeah.
So I think the 50 and the 30 is the easier part. This 20% for investment is probably what becomes more complex. At an entry level, I would possibly recommend a money market fund.
Okay.
The reason why money market fund is, it is easily convertible to cash. And the beauty of that is you can have it as an emergency fund, an opportunity fund, and also an investment in itself. So that when an opportunity in another asset class presents itself, you could possibly move some money from your money market fund and now looking at it as an opportunity fund, and you move it, say, into the stock market. And all this, I would love to say, is that it's important you get a mentor or an investment advisor.
Yeah.
Yes, so that we are not just guessing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yes, there are certain investments that you'll try, like the stock market, you might get in at the wrong time, and then you deflate your investment. And then you start saying, wow, what did I just do?
Yeah.
Yes, so it's very important to get sound advice and mentorship. Get a mentor, somebody who can help you take the right steps in the right direction.
Let's talk about debt management.
Yes.
And because I know many people struggle with debt these days. So what's the best approach of getting out of debt?
Well, when you find yourself in a hole, you need to stop digging. So generally, you'll find this person who takes one loan to pay off another one. One of the key things you need to ask yourself is, why am I borrowing? Am I borrowing for consumption purposes? Or am I borrowing to put this money in some form of an investment that can then create a return or grow? So when you're already in debt, the best thing is to stop and take stock and review your budget. Ask yourself, what is it that caused this? So part of what we were doing in the budgeting chapter is to do a 90-day review. Ask yourself, what is it that you're spending money on? And the most natural thing at this point in time would be to contract on your expenditure. So try and find out how you can contract. Look at the terms of your loans. Unfortunately, some of the loans have very high interest rates. Probably you signed a piece of paper without knowing the rate. If you find yourself in a high interest rate situation, try and either renegotiate the rate or migrate your debt to another provider with a slightly better interest rate and terms of payment. Because all the devil lies in the detail of the interest rate and the terms of payment and certain things like penalties. So if you have late payment penalties, you have a penalty for this, you have a penalty for that, then you find yourself in a situation where you can't even pay off that debt. You can't even reduce the amount that you borrowed. It's just growing bigger and bigger and bigger. So those are the general challenges that exist in a debt situation. You might have borrowed to consume. So you don't have an asset that even at the worst case situation you can offset or to sell out to offset that debt. You just borrowed some money, you went and had some fun, then now the money is not there and there's nothing to support your expense. So debt should generally be acquired for some form of investment.
Okay.
Yes.
You mentioned something very important. You said you can move your loan from one to another if the interests are not favoring you. Now, I know a lot of people don't know that this is an actual option. So how would they go about that? Do they speak to their financier?
So that's what we are referring to as debt consolidation. So if you have probably 3-4 loans with different providers, with different rates, you can choose which of your provider is giving you the best rate. Go and negotiate with that provider and ask the provider to then pay off the other loans so that you're dealing with the best rate and the best or the most favorable service provider for debt. And then once you do that, you could probably even try and find a way in which this debt can be managed without impairing your life. Yes, because sometimes debts then squeeze you out and you find yourself in a situation where you even lose yourself. So some of the things people would do is to negotiate the duration for payment. It's not always the best thing to do, but it gives you some breathing room. And you can also still go ahead and try and pay more than is expected in the loan repayment. So if you can consolidate with your best provider, I think that would be an ideal solution.
All right. So in the field of investing, so someone has a bit more money left over after they've cleared off all the bills and they've been saving up. Would you recommend them to get land as their first investment, or would you recommend them to go into other things that compound the money first?
Those of us who started investing based on advice from the older generation, we'll find ourselves in a situation where we are heavily invested in land. The challenge with land is you have this beautiful asset. You probably have all the paperwork that you need to have with it. Unfortunately, you can't move it around in its current form. So you bought a nice piece of land, it's appreciated in value, yes. You have a title deed for it, you've paid off your rates and your rent on it. But if you see an opportunity presenting itself, say in the stock market, how do you use the value that you've accumulated in your asset and use the opportunity that has come through from that into the stock market. The process of doing that might not necessarily be for a beginner. It is possible to do it, but it's slightly more complex. So for somebody who is starting out, I would very highly recommend a money market fund.
Yeah.
Yes.
What about the long-term options when it comes to investment? You know, you have a bit of capital, you're thinking really long-term, let's say 10, 15 years. Where are the opportunities?
Ultimately, the opportunities for growth do exist in undeveloped land, if we go back to her proposal, and the stock market. Yes. Looking at the stock market, about a week ago, I think a week or two ago, we had one of the largest investors in one of the listed companies. His holding was worth 33 million. The other day, June last year, his holding was worth 33 million. The other day in the headlines, this holding has it's blossomed to 200 million shillings.
Wow.
That's what the stock market can do to you. That's what the stock market can do for you. So if you're looking at opportunity, I would highly recommend the stock market. But before you go in, please get some sound advice.
I like that you said that, because I know a lot of people are just like, okay, I'm going into stocks, put all my money there.
Yes. Now, with the stock market, you have the market cycles. You have the market going up and you have the market going down.
Yeah.
There's an advisor who will tell you, buy stocks at every point in time you have some money. So you buy stocks up, you buy stocks down. And there's another advisor who will tell you, let's watch the market. This market will go up and it will go down. So instead of buying stocks on a continuous basis, put your money in an opportunity fund, like we had mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
When the stocks come down, you jump in.
That sounds like my investor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you also need to understand what kind of an investor are you. All those things, we've talked about them in the book. What's your investment? What's your investor profile?
Yeah.
Do you have enough stomach to take those ups and downs in the stock market? So you put a little in one category, put a little in a different category, and even within the stock market, look for counters or companies that have philosophies that you can align with.
Yeah.
And then you say, I would like this one, I would like this one, I would like this one. Seek advice from your advisor, and they say, yeah, this is good. You can go in here. This is good. You can go in here. Because when things are good, everything is okay.
Yeah.
When things are bad, what will happen? If you don't have enough love for the company that you put your money in, then you might not be feeling too good.
By the way, Tony, what are your thoughts about the crypto? Everyone's talking about it, regardless of how volatile it is. Some people say, okay, the returns are crazy.
The thing about investing is, if you don't understand it, please don't put your money in it. Yeah. So I have not put any money personally in crypto.
Yeah.
I have some friends who've put money in crypto and made a lot of money.
Really now?
Yes, a lot of money. But I just look at it and say, because I don't understand this thing, I'm not going to touch it.
Would you actually study it at some point? Maybe, do you have any interest?
As your appetite for new assets and asset classes grows, you find yourself studying more and more.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even within those cryptos, there are certain counters that are more attractive than others.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I was listening to an amazing speaker, and he was talking about how, the average American millionaire has about 10 income streams, streams of income. How important is it for us to diversify our income streams? And is that also a practical way of, creating wealth?
So, like I keep having this debate with my dad, every solution has a problem. And I don't know if he's listening right now. And he always laughs and laughs and laughs. So the challenge with diversification is you shouldn't spread yourself too thin. Or else this solution that you're trying to create in diversification then becomes your next challenge. Just being able to track all these things happening at the same time becomes a challenge, because the start button or the gunshot for the start on one counter, say in the stock market, will sound at a different time from a different one. And if you look at, say, the Nairobi Securities Exchange website, you'll be able to see what they call corporate actions. And you'll see which company is paying dividends at what time in the year. And at what time they close their book of who they will determine as an eligible shareholder to get dividends. So being able to track all these things, it takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of effort. So there are those of us who call ourselves the lazy investor. So you find a fund or an investment fund that gives you that service, you place your money in that fund, and they just give you a return either monthly, quarterly, daily, or annually. So it really depends on how much you want to get your hands onto these items.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's talk AI and your finances.
Yes.
There's a lot of AIs that come out, like ChatGPT, that can review the financial market from beginning all the way till where it is right now, and it can sort of predict the patterns. Would you recommend beginners to use AI to be able to invest their investment, their money?
Like I said, if you don't understand it, don't touch it. So I haven't used AI either for my writing, for investing, or for whatever reason. But the reality does exist that there are certain programs out there that can guide you on how to do all these things and make trades. So you can trade even on a daily basis and make drawdowns every day. So 1,000, 2,000, and there are people who do it actually. And they're making it and they're doing it. But because I don't understand how the thing works, at least I understand the fundamentals of investing, I would probably not use it.
You know, when we talk about retirement, that word sometimes just freaks out a lot of people. I mean, at what point should we start planning for retirement?
Yesterday. So what then happens is you're saving some money. Like we said, a 30-year-old saving 10,000 every month will have 22 million in an account by the time he or she is 60. Now, what you can bear in mind is that every million you have saved up for retirement at that time, your guesstimate for what that can generate for you using the same 10% is that each million will earn you about 10,000 shillings per month, give or take, in retirement. I don't know if that sounds very exciting. So you then start asking yourself, how many millions should I have working for me so that I can get 10,000 times the number of millions in a monthly income?
Yeah.
So the earlier you start, the more compound interest works on the money that you've put in. And it compounds and keep compounding. So we said you only put 3.6 million shillings over 30 years, and you ended up with 22 million shillings.
Yeah.
Everything in between is compound interest.
On the same topic, like, how would someone be able to predict how much they'd be using when they've retired? Because right now they're thinking, okay, with all my expenses and everything, it comes up to like 50, 60 a month. Am I going to be using the same? Then should I be saving for the same kind of lifestyle, or?
We were having this conversation today that somebody may find himself in retirement when his children or her children are very young. And you can now guess that the cost of education takes up a big chunk of our budget. So you need to be able to see, like we said, far enough into the future that when you're retiring, these are the things that are likely to need some money. So your health is very likely to be costing you more than it's costing you now. We talked about your services that you'll be paying. You might need some support staff, some domestic staff. And then your food, your housing, utilities. Assumedly, you own the house, so you don't have a direct hit in terms of rent or a mortgage. And then everything that goes into your budget, transport, etc., etc. So what are you seeing as your requirement in retirement? Are you going to be able to pay off some medical insurance? We are lucky now, we have post-retirement medical funds. So you can start saving for your medical expenses after 60. You can start saving for them now. Those are some of the key things that it would be nice for us to let our audience know are available in the market now. Because you leave this thing until you're 60 and then it catches you and you're completely unprepared.
I agree.
Yes.
And for the record, guys, if you're listening to us, if you're just joining us, we have the one and only Tony Olang. He's an author, of course. You guys know him. And today we're talking about how to take full control of your finances and your future. So if you have any questions, reactions, commentary, well, the time is right now. Unaweza tupigia simu. The phone lines are open. It's a 0719012600. Stephanie.
Yeah, so there's a lot of Gen Zs who still live in their parents' home. They've not been able to move out, but they're earning a bit of money. So how would you recommend that they go about saving that? Because now their expenses has reduced drastically. They don't have the rent, the power bills, the water. Yeah,
that comes very nicely in chapter 13.
Oh, okay.
Intergenerational wealth.
Yeah.
Yes, so you're helping your next generation. And you're ushering in positive financial habits. You're passing on a philosophy. What we are really discussing here today is a philosophy. How is this going to be passed on to the next generation? On page 9, we have a book summary here. So the whole book has been summarized in this one page. And I'm touching on it because of what you've mentioned.
Yeah.
So number 1 in the flow is make some money.
Yeah.
Number 2 is spend some money. Number 3 is retain some money.
Yeah.
So that number 3 is what we're talking about, investing.
Yeah.
And
so
then
I'm going to have to cut you short.
Sure, we'll come
Let's
back.
just talk to our brother over here, our sister.
Yes.
SpiceFM, good evening.
Good evening.
Oh, Paul Sana, my brother. Looks like we have a connection problem. Guys, the phone lines are open, yeah? So do give us a call. Phone lines are open. Like I said, you already know the number. It's 0719012600. We have the one and only Tony Olang. He's an author of a couple of books. But today we're touching on this amazing one. It's called Eeny, Meeny, Money and More. How to save and invest 70% of your income. Give us a call. Phone lines are open. Today we're talking how to take full control of your finances and your future. My brother, my sister, give me a call right now. Tony is excited about engaging with you. Proceed, my brother.
Yes. So we said make some money, spend some money, and then retain some money.
Yeah.
Then that money you retain, you're going to multiply it, which is number 4. And then number 5, you need to secure and protect that investment. And then number 6, transfer that to the next generation.
Right.
And then you have a second loop, which is 1B, increase your income, which is the expansion we were talking about. And with that expansion, you're looking at increasing the percentage you retain. So we are moving towards increasing. And the Gen Z that you're talking about who is struggling to save some money.
Yeah.
So you're now able with the expansion to increase the percentage retained. You then engage more efficient multiplication. And then you continue your loop to secure or protect your investments and then transfer this to the next generation. And the loop continues. Yes.
Okay.
Interesting. Tony, there's something that's really bothering a lot of Kenyans these days. Not just Kenyans, Africans, including myself. We call this black tax.
Yes.
Where we have to send money back home to care for our parents or family members. So my question is, how do you balance this whole pressure from, our lifestyle, from society, when there's so much inflation, and at the same time, you're trying to create wealth? How do you go about it?
We talked about a money market fund.
Yeah.
And in there you have your emergency fund and your opportunity fund.
Yeah.
And also within your budget, you should be able to say that this is the latitude I have for giving away.
Cool. So that's on your budget.
You have to factor it in, or else you'll have to start reallocating things.
All right.
Yes.
What about the disciplined mindset to stick to your investment plan? Some people struggle with it. How do you go about it? Reframing your mind. You say you have a goal that you have to achieve. You're not distracted. You seem like a very sharp guy. I mean, how did you even develop this mindset?
So mine was fortunately courtesy of exposure from experience. So I've had extensive exposure in the industry. What then helps you to stick to the path that you're drawing out in your budget and your long-term plans is possibly your mentor. What quality of a mentor do you have? The challenge with your mentor is that there may be biases that he or she has based on their own experiences. So your mentor and your investment advisor should be working hand in hand. And ultimately, you're in a position to make a better decision.
Yeah.
Yes.
So where does one start off by finding a mentor who can teach them all these financial stuff?
That's a very interesting question.
Yep.
Around you, there's auntie so-and-so, there's uncle so-and-so. There's always that one guy who seems like they might have something that they can say that's worthwhile. That's one. Most of us, actually, according to the FinAccess report and the FinAccess survey, almost half of us rely on a friend or a relative for investment advice. The question is, how much exposure does this person you're relying on have with regards to investment? That's where we are saying a professional investment advisor can't be wished away. You can try a shortcut here and there, but ultimately you'll need to get into the professional space. What also does happen is, even amongst my colleagues and other industrial colleagues, is this thing is actually a lot of work. So even professionals themselves don't want to get caught up in having their own portfolio, which they have to struggle with. They would rather outsource this to someone else, let someone else have the headache of multiplying their money, and then they just sit back and enjoy the returns. Most of us are lazy investors. If it's a reality that you accept, then maybe that's the way to go. Identify a professional provider who aligns with your personal philosophies, and then when your money comes, you just transfer money into that fund. They do the investment for you, and they give you your statements.
As we wrap up this conversation,
Yes.
what is that one piece of financial advice you would like for Kenyans to know?
Haba na haba hujaza kibaba.
That's the golden one.
Haba na haba hujaza kibaba.
Exactly. Compounding.
Yes.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like we're just beginning and you're saying we're wrapping up.
I know, Manze, because commercial radio, sometimes you want to extend these conversations. But, for those who would like to connect with you, share your story, somehow get into, a partnership or whatever, how can they reach out to you?
TonyOlang.com.
Yeah.
They can also get the books from the Nuria bookstore.
Nice.
Yes.
TonyOlang.com.
All my books are also available on Amazon.
Yes.
Yes.
Good stuff.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for all the Gen Zs, you definitely need to get this Eeny, Meeny, Money and More.
Yeah,
'Cause
correct.
we need to handle our money.
Oh, well, for me, I just know I'm excited about Cradle to the Cradle. This is the one I'm starting with. I just feel like there's a lot going on over here that I have to, know of. Thank you so much, Bwana Tony Olang. It's been real. You are very resourceful, and we have appreciated you for all the value that you've added to our audience. Remember, guys, he's an author, and it's all about taking full control of your finance plans, and your future. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
All right. Right now, I see it's a couple of minutes to the top of the hour. In the next hour, still a lot of stories that we have lined up for you on cruising the internet, including some facts. But right now, Da Brat, Jermaine Dupree, Functified.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM.